Sure. Thank you so much again for joining. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare.
Thank you all for joining tonight's Wednesday Sangha. We're very happy to have a very special speaker today, Her Grace Radhika Kripa Mataji. Many of you may remember we got to see her just a little while back here at Iskon of Bergen, and now she's again joining us from online. And so I'll give a quick introduction before we begin. Today's topic of the class is Lord Rishabh Dev's teachings to his son. And Mataji, as we know, she was born in a Sikh business family and by profession was a fashion designer. Then she married into a Hindu Punjabi business family and joined ISKCON. After her initiation in 2001 by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Maharaj had instructed her to become an international preacher and to write books. And as she is doing, she came to New Jersey. She goes all over the United States, has traveled to Japan, Canada, Australia, and many, many other places. And she's a mentor. She does a lot of online preaching programs, including japa sessions and many courses. And she has she is an author of also many, many books. So some examples: Prose of Devotion, Vaishnav Teachings and Sikhism, and much more. And she also runs a devotional online school for kids. And Mataji has secured very, very good records in book distribution during the Bhadra Purnima Marathon. And lastly, Mataji's husband, His Grace Raspriya Prabhu, has also engaged in many temple projects in Delhi. So together they have been preaching and serving around internationally. So we're very, very happy to have Mataji with us today. And now that we have more people joining in, I won't take much time. And without further ado, Mataji, the floor is yours. Mataji, you're on mute, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Prabhu Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshramalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swam Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapat Kamlam Shri Gurana Vaishnavasya Shri Rupam Sagritam Saraganraganathvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarabhutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagan Lalita Shri Vishakhanitamasya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishvano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubaksha Kripa Sindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Today we are going to discuss a very, very important topic in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Amala Purana. It's a spotless grantha, the scripture that is spotless. That means there is no flaw in this grantha. No Vedic scripture is actually, all Vedic scriptures are flawless. But this is Amal Purana and it can give you bhakti, the topmost devotional life which we are all aspiring for. So today is a very important topic from Canto 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam. It talks of the Rishab Dev's teachings. Who is Rishab Dev? He's Supreme Lord himself. He gives teachings to his 100 sons. So it says here, who is Rishab Dev? He's born to King Navi and his wife Meru Devi. They performed a very special yajna, a grand yajna, and they wanted a son like Krishna himself, God himself. And he says there is no one like him, but he himself can be. He appeared there in their household as their son. And he was named Rishab Dev. Rishab means the best or the chief, that he's the greatest example of spiritual life. He's the teaching both royal responsibility with renunciation. So these are two aspects which everybody should actually have. We may live in great opulence, we may live in whatever kind of life, but we should live with responsibility as well as have renunciation. So that's what the main teachings of they are coming up from the Supreme Lord himself, named Rishabh Dev now. And King Nabi is the son of Priyavrata. Priyavrata is the son of Swambhu Manu. So we all know that's coming from the lineages there. It's again the Supreme Lord. So the King Nabi was actually a monarch, but it was through bhakti devotional service that he pleased the Lord. And this shows that devotion is not just a ritual, it attracts the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Devotional life is the only way with which we can actually attract the Supreme Lord. There is no other way that can attract the Supreme Lord. So we are very fortunate that we have come in the lineage where Rupa Goswami has given us so much of knowledge about devotional life. And by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, we have again got that. So that devotional life which we are all aspiring for, how do we get to understand now? That can be easily understood by the teachings of Rishabh Dev. So that teachings we are going to discuss now. That is very important that we understand what Krishna tells us, what the Supreme Lord gives us. So Rishabh Dev actually, sorry, I'll be talking of the shloka. First, we'll take the shloka from the chapter. Actually, I'm right now in Canada and I'm not carrying the Bhagavatam, so I'm gonna go into the screen. So Rishab Uvacha, Nayam Deho Debhajam. So this is the shloka, first shloka from the 5th chapter of 5th canto. So here it says, Rishab Uvacha, Nayam Deho Debhajam Riloke, Kashtan Karman, Kaman Herte Vid Bujamaye, Tapo Divyam Putraka Yena Satvam, Shuddhayeta Yasmat Brahma Sokyam To Anantam. I remember Guru Maharaj used to, my spiritual master is only like Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. It was one of the favorite shlokas. He would always mention, whenever he would talk about the saintly qualities, he would talk about this shloka. He would talk about that how Rishabh Dev actually gave this to his 100 sons. It says, Rishab Uvacha, Lord Rishabh Dev said, Na anyam. He says, not this deha. So I'll read the translation directly. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada gave us the word meanings, translation, and the purport. Lord Rishabdev told his sons, my dear boys, of all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, one who has been awarded this human form should not work hard day and night, simply for sense gratification, which is available even for dogs and hawks that eat stool. One should engage in penance and austerity to attain the divine position of devotional service. By such activity, one's heart is purified, and when one attains this position, he attains eternal, blissful life, which is transcendental to material happiness and which continues forever. So this is in itself, one shloka has got so much of depth in it. And what about the rest of the teachings that are going to come now? We'll talk about them in very brief now. So here Lord Rishabdev tells his sons, my dear boys, he says, all the living entities who have accepted material bodies in this world, of course, in this world, we all got have material bodies. We had, and out of these species, all those who have been awarded with human form should not work. People, what do the material people say? Materialistic people, oh, work. You should work very hard. You should work day and night. But here he says that human form is not meant for just sense gratification. It is not just meant to work hard day and night simply for sense gratification. And this sense gratification is easily available for dogs and hogs. Even dogs and hogs, they actually gratify their senses. Hogs, if you take a pig or a hog and put him on a very nice ornamental stool, he will, ornamental throne, he would never sit there. He would always prefer to eat the stool from the drains. So that is what a hog's habit is. So sense gratification is like that stool for the human beings. If they are enjoying the materialistic world, that is just like enjoying stool. If you are directed towards the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is the ornamental, the gold ornamental throne for you. But you don't want to accept that. You want to accept the stool that the materialistic people are eating. So one should engage in penance and austerity to attain this position. And how does one attain the devotional service? It's clearly mentioned here by the Supreme Lord. One's heart has to be purified. And how does one's heart gets purified? By actually going into the satsang, by going into the association of devotees, by taking up to penance, that's austerity. Getting up early in the morning in the Mangalarti, it's austerity. Getting up in the Brahmurta is austerity. Chanting the 16 rounds is an austerity, it's a penance. So this is the tapasya. One should actually do tapasya to attain the divine position of devotional service. Devotional service cannot come on its own to you. One has to actually work hard for it. So people do the reverse. They work day and night hard for simply materialistic things, but they don't work hard for the devotional life. If you tell them that please work hard for devotional service, they say we don't have time. We have to actually, we need food, we need place to stay, but they want all the comforts. They don't want to take any pains. Penance means pain. By such activity one's heart is purified by penance and austerity, and then one attains this position that's eternal, that is blissful, which is transcendental to this material happiness. So they attain a position that is transcendental to this material happiness and which continues forever, and it is eternal. It will continue forever and ever. So, this is the importance of human life. If we don't try and attain this, then we are actually in the material world. And in this material world, we are only going to attain pain and suffering if we don't take to the spiritual life. If we don't take to the material, we don't give up the material life and take up to the spiritual life. So this is actually in this first shloka, Rishabdev is giving what Lord Rishabdev is giving. He is giving the purpose of human life. That how important the human life is and what is the importance of human life. He's telling us that the austerity, the pasya, will bring and the penance will bring eternal happiness. Brahma Sokhya. In this shloka, he says Brahma Sokhyam, spiritual happiness, certainly will come, and that's anantam, that's unending. That will actually take you out of this material world that is temporary, and it will give you the never ending happiness, the never ending bliss in this life. So we go to the second verse where he talks about Mahat Sevam Dwaram Ahur Vimukte Tamo Dwaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. So now here, Lord Rishabdev says, he talks about the association with the saintly persons, the association with saints that leads to liberation. So, how the purpose of human life he tells in the first. Now, in the second shloka, he talks about the how one can actually attain that position, but by the association of devotees. So Mahatasevam Dwaram, Mahatasevam, Mahatmas. Serve the Mahatmas, those who are actually advanced. Dwaram, the way. What they say, this is the way to liberation by serving the spiritual master, by serving the spiritually advanced persons. One actually enters the liberation path of liberation. One gets actually out of the hellish conditions of life. It's a very interesting chapter. This chapter actually is very interesting because it directly gives us the glimpse of the devotional life. It gives the glimpse of the human purpose of human life. It tells us so many things. So, serving the great souls opens the door to liberation. The second shloka actually talks about that. But the bad associations, what happens when you have actually the association of those persons, those who are materially, actually they are materially engaged, they are engaged into sense gratification, that leads to what? That leads to bondage. That's what here Lord Rishabdev talks about, that leads to bondage. So we don't want to be bound to this material world. We want to go out of, those who actually want to go out of this material world, those who understand that this material world is nothing but just a hellish condition. So they want to go out of it. So those who want to go out of it, what they do, they take the association of the spiritually advanced devotees. They take the association of sadhu sangha. They take, and that is what Prabhupada gave. When he opened these so many temples of ISKCON all over the world, he gave the place, the call, where you can associate with devotees, where you get a chance to advance spiritually. So those who don't want to get association of devotees, they are bound to fall into the material world. They will remain in bondage. So we go to the third shloka now. In the third shloka, it again comes up where it says, Ye va maishe krita so hridartha chaneshu dehambara varitikeshu. So it says here, don't imitate the materialist. We go to the translation. Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. So here Lord Rishabdev is giving a warning. He is warning that his children, his 100 sons, that don't imitate the materialistic people. Don't become materialistic. Don't follow them. Because then what happens? If you follow the materialistic people, you will fall into the pool of materialistic life. You will fall into hellish conditions. He is giving a warning here. First shloka, he tells about the purpose of human life. Second, he talks about the saintly association. What happens when you get the saintly association? Third, now he talks about that don't ever imitate the materialistic people. He's giving a warning. He tells his son, don't imitate those who seek pleasure through wealth, family, and fame. Everybody wants to become a celebrity these days. You see, the Kali Yuga is on the rise. Everybody is talking about views. Earlier, there were a category of celebrities. There were the cricket stars, there were the film stars, they were like, there was a celebrity, there was actually a category. But now what happened? It's everywhere in every household, people want to become a celebrity. You talk to anybody, they want to have their views on the reels, on the Instagram, on the Facebook, on other media, social medias, where they are easily acquiring fame. So everybody is actually aiming at fame now. Earlier it was difficult, but now it's becoming easy as the Kali Yuga is on the rise. So materialistic people, they seek pleasure through wealth, family, and fame. They want to enjoy their wealth. They want to first acquire wealth, work day and not night hard to acquire wealth. And then they want to enjoy this wealth. They want to have a big family, a nice family. And then they want to attain fame as well. So these pursuits entangle they entangle. They keep you bound to the material world. So this is how it is that those who are devotees, they do not want to get bound here. They want to get the liberation. And that is why There are only two sets of people. One is Gurmukh and one is Manmukh. Manmukh is the materialist, those who actually work according to their mind. And Gurmukh are the ones who work according to the instructions of the spiritual master, the Guru. So, those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their bodies, eating, mating, sleeping, defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders, nor are they attached to wives, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their devotees. So, this is how it is. This is royal responsibility and renunciation. So, one should remember Lord Rishabh Dev gave these two things. He gave the how one should be responsible and how one should be a renunciate. You would say they are both contradictory, but he actually is making it very simple for all of us to understand. You just have everything in your life, but work it for Krishna. Do everything for Krishna. Don't do anything that is not related to Krishna. Then you see your everything, your wealth, your fame, your name, everything will be put into service of Krishna. Then you actually become a renunciate. Sorry. So they are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. So you see, attachment, you may have children, you may have a husband, you may have wife, you may have friends, you may have wealth. They are not indifferent to the execution of their devotees. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together. So they are not obsessed with money. They are not obsessed with acquiring more wealth. They don't want to be known as they don't want to be known as the topmost in wealthy people's name. They don't want to be in the wealthy people's list. They want to be the servants of Krishna. They want to serve the Supreme Lord. They want to serve the spiritual master. Sorry. So those who want to serve the spiritual master, they follow the instructions, what Lord Rishabh Dev is telling us here. and, this, and one has to be very careful in executing his duties as well. So one should not run away from the duties. But in fact, those who become devotees, they actually do their duties in the best capability. That's it. They are the best parents, they are the best husbands, they are the best wives, they are the best children. If you become a devotee, you actually acquire the best of the things. So we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada gave us the right guidance. This right guidance actually is needed. Without the right guidance, one cannot acquire liberation. One has to be under the guidance of a spiritual master to acquire the path of liberation and reach the goal of life. The goal of life is going back to Godhead. So that is only possible if we are surrendered to the instructions of the spiritual master. So this is how we'll go to the next shloka, which talks about again is another teaching. So he says, now he talks about we go to the translation. Now here he talks about one ashram dharma, that how you have to perform your duty. First he tells about perform your duty, and you may have everything in this world, but then also put into service of Krishna. Now he says how perform duty according to the one ashram dharma. When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic life and engages in all kind of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received a body, which although temporary is the cause of his misery. So you see, because of our misdeeds, past misdeeds, we have got this human body. So a materialistic person is who is a materialistic person? Who is mad after materialistic things, and he performs all kinds of sinful activities. He's ready to do that because he's after sense gratification. But, and we have acquired this human form, we should remember it always because we actually committed some past misdeeds, and that is why we got this temporary form. And this is the cause of misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after the another. So we have acquired this material body because of our past misdeeds. Now again the cycle will go on. If again we fall into sense gratification with this material body and do not do what is needed, required of this material body, we will be actually falling into this cycle of birth and death again and again, again and again. We will be acquiring the again and again we will be acquiring the human form of the bodies, whether it is a human form or whether it's the lower species. We will be coming again and again unless we go out of this cycle of birth and death. That can happen only with the devotional life. When one has acquired devotional life, then only one can go out of the cycle of birth and death. So follow the Varnashram Dharma. Prabhupada talks about it, that if we go to the purport, please you can put it on the purport. Yeah. It says here, begging, borrowing, and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to dark, hellish conditions. The four sinful activities are illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, gambling. So these are the means by which one gets another material body that is full of miseries. So one should actually go ahead for the liberation. And how that liberation happens, we'll now go for the another shloka. The next one we go. This talks about the spiritual values. Please go to the translation. Yeah. As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values, one is defeated and subjected to miseries. So, here in these coming shloka, this shloka particularly, he explains that the soul is actually distinct from the body. Soul is not actually the body, it's different, it's distinct. Lord Rishabh talks about karma. So if a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitative activity. As long as mind is impure, consciousness is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitative activity, he has to accept a material body. So Prabhupada talks about it that the speculative knowledge and pious activities do not solve the problems of material life. So people actually are madmuk. They are speculators. So when you speculate, then you will not attain the liberation. Never in your life you will come across the path of liberation. Speculative activities take you down into the dungeons of hellish life, material life again and again. So, and even if you commit pious activities, then also the material life, the problem of material life is not solved because the pious activities will take you to heavens. But then again, when your credit in the heaven is diminished, it's over. You will be thrown back into the clutches of Maya again on the material world, the Mrityu Loka. So one should be inquisitive to understand the spiritual position. So this explains that the soul is in the body, it is distinct from it, just like a person may ride a vehicle, but he is not the vehicle himself. So it says here, as long as one is absorbed in fruitative activity, he has to accept a material body. So you attain this human body, it's a vehicle. This vehicle is actually required to take the soul back to Godhead. The soul wants to go back to Godhead. That is why she attained this vehicle called body. But then we thought this body we have got to enjoy the material things. And we forgot what the real karma was. So now here, Rishabh Devji is telling that the soul is distinct from body. He's giving the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is the principle. It has to come. Again and again, it will pop up in Bhagavatam because the Bhagavatam is actually laid on the principles of Bhagavad Gita. So here, it's these shlokas are very important. We have till these 6, 7 shlokas, the early part of this chapter, he talks about all these things. We go to the next shloka now. Yeah. The breathe, it says here The eva mana karma vasamam. We go for the translation. When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated by fruitative activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudev, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. So now he says what? He's telling us the mind is the root cause. The mind is the root cause of bondage. So, mode of ignorance, and his mind is subjugated to the fruitive activity. When the mind, living entity, is covered by mode of ignorance, he does not understand the living, individual living being. He does not understand the soul. He does not understand the super soul. He doesn't understand the mind that is controlled by sakam karma, fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Vasudev, until you actually, by chanting, that is why it says, Ado Shraddha, Tado Sadhu Sang, Tada Bhajana Kriya. First is the Shraddha, little bit of faith. We are not saying you should have great faith, a little bit of just faith. So, when you have little bit of faith, you are actually directed to the Sadhu Sangha. So that is the association of pure devotees or the association of devotees. You go into the association of devotees and you start the bhajana kriya. You start chanting. So when you start chanting, Prabhupada always said, focus on the quantity of chanting, never the quality. Quality is later on. Of course, the quality has to be the best one. But once the quality you acquire, the quantity you acquire to do, gradually you will focus on the quality as well. Because your anarthas are running away. You are chanting 16 rounds. Out of these 16 rounds, at least once you would chant sincerely. One mantra at least, if you are chanting in a sincere manner, out of those 16 rounds, that one mantra will play the magic. It can play the magic. And it will help you to cleanse your heart. So once the heart is getting cleansed, the mind is getting cleansed, then you will actually, the love for Vasudeva will come. So therefore, until one has the love for Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, Rishab Devji says, he is certainly not delivered. One who does not acquire the love for Krishna, he is certainly not delivered. Krishna is called Mukunda. There's a very beautiful, actually, lines in the, those who have my book, Vaishnav Teachings in Sikhism, they can read it there. In the, there is a verse where it is said that Namdev Ji, this great saint from south of India, he asks Supreme Lord himself, and he is talking to Devi Devtas, and he tells the Devi Devtas that when I ask for, he asks Bhavani, Ad Bhavani, he says, Tu kahat hai Ad Bhavani. You are named as Adi Bhavani. But when I ask you, Mukut ki bari aayi ta kahan chapani? When I ask you, give me liberation, you go and hide somewhere. So this is what it is says here, that Rishabh Dev says, I'm Lord Vasudev and I can give liberation. He's Mukunda. Krishna is Mukunda. Mukti Data Krishna. Only Mukti can be attained by Krishna. There is no one else who can give us Mukti. So here he declares again, Lord Rishabdev, that love for Vasudev is required, and who is I am Vasudev, none other than myself. Or when one comes, actually acquires this love, then what happens? He is actually delivered. And unless he acquires the love for me, he will not be delivered. And he has to accept the material body again and again. So, mind absorbed in senses brings bondage. Mind absorbed in Krishna brings liberation. Just this mind plays the games. You have just to put the mind in the actually, absorb it in the liberation, absorb it in Krishna so that you acquire liberation. You don't have to come back to this material world again. So we all are trying. We are all are focusing on the instructions of the spiritual masters so that we, with the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, go back to Godhead. Sorry. The next shloka we will go. Sorry. So it says here, 5.5.7. The translation says clearly that surrender to the Supreme Lord is the most important thing. Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in the material world. centering his interest around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal. So here, Lord Rishabdev is clearly telling them that the material life, the household life where the Supreme Lord has no place, where the Supreme Lord is not worshipped, where the Supreme Lord is not chanted, his name is not chanted, then that household life becomes what? It is no more than a place for an animal to dwell. It's a place where an animals are dwelling. So we want to be actually there is only two kind of people. One are, it says in the human form also they are animals, and the other are devotees. So when you acquire a human form even and you are just endeavoring for sense gratification, oh I earn money and then I spend money on sense gratification, then this is just actually he says whether you may be one very learned and wise, but if he is endeavoring only for money and sense gratification, it's just useless waste of time, and he is just like a foolish animal. So we don't want to be known as that. This human form of life is meant to surrender to the Supreme Lord. We have got this human form of life to actually attain the Supreme Lord, to attain mukti, to attain liberation. So this is the real liberation is attained by surrendering to the Supreme Lord. And those who are not, this actually the Guru Granth Sahib says again, those who are actually not liberated while alive, how will they get liberation after death? One has to be actually liberated while alive. So that is what Rishabh Dev Ji is telling. He says, live simply and don't be a slave to the senses. Real liberation is attained by actually surrendering to Lord Vasudev. Lord Vasudev is the well wisher of all living beings and the shelter of all the paths. And Rishabdev is urging his sons to lead a simple, self controlled life and not fall victim to pride, lust, and greed. That's the clear message he's giving. So, in these early few shlokas, he is telling us to perform tapasya that purifies the soul. And he says, take good association of the devotees that will lead to liberation. Go for detachment, avoid material entanglement, and follow the path of dharma. And dharma is act according to the nature of the Supreme Lord. The words of the Supreme Lord, the instructions of the spiritual master who is a bona fide spiritual master who is coming from disciplic succession. And surrender is the goal of life. Surrender to Vasudev is the goal of life. These are all instructions are being given by Lord Rishabdev to his sons, and they are actually a message for all of us. So that is why Bhagavatam is very important for us, because it is the Granth of Bhakti. So, if we want unalloyed devotion, it says in the purport right before your eyes, it says, Ane abhilashata shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. To be an unalloyed devotee, one must be free from all material desires and untouched by fruitive activity and speculative knowledge. On the lower platform, one may sometimes be interested in philosophical speculation with a tinge of devotion. However, at the stage, one is still interested in self gratification and is contaminated by modes of material nature. So earlier, you may be contaminated by modes of material nature. You may be interested in sense gratification. The influence of Maya is so strong that even a person advanced in knowledge actually forgets Krishna, that he's Krishna's eternal servant. Therefore, remains satisfied in his household life, which is centered around sexual intercourse. So one should be actually given for the service to the Supreme Lord, to become an unalloyed devotee. We should be free from all material desires, should be untouched by sakama karma. One should be untouched by sakama karma and speculative knowledge. Just follow the scriptures, follow the knowledge of the scriptures. That's important for a human life. So that is why we have got this human life to attain the Supreme Lord. That is the only purpose of this human form of life. Hare Krishna. So I can take question answers now. My throat is not that great. Yes.
So, um, I have one question here
Yes.
that's asking, Why does Rishabdev discourage sense gratification, even though it may seem natural?
See, just repeat it.
Why does Rishabdev discourage sense gratification,
Yeah.
even though it may seem natural?
Very natural. When you actually sprinkle water on the floor, if you, by mistake, even if you drop a glass of water on the floor, you see the water goes to the lower level. It doesn't go upwards, it goes to the lower level. Why does that happen? It's natural. Because when there is, likewise, a human form of life is like that. If you are given actually an opportunity for sense gratification, if few things are actually thrown in your way that are materialistic, it's bound that you will be carried away by them. It is bound. But this is discouraged. This is totally discouraged. This is just a test going on for you, whether you give in or whether you take up to the devotional life. Because sense gratification and devotional life do not go hand in hand. If you that is why Prabhupada said, transform your lust into love for Krishna. We have lust for materialistic things. These materialistic things will actually take us away from our goal. If a person is actually obsessed with money, he will be working hard day and night and committing all kinds of sins even to acquire money, because his goal is to just acquire money, hordes and hordes of money he wants. But if you are actually a devotee, Krishna may actually give you all the opulence like Dhruv Maharaj got, all the opulence. He became the ruler of the whole universe. He was the ruler of the whole planet. But then the ruler of the whole planet was not attached to what he had got. He was not attached to sense gratification. Krishna took away all the attachment from him. That is why I said Rishabh Dev Ji is giving us the renunciation part along with the oil. His children, he's giving them the royal responsibility along with renunciation. He's teaching them the lesson of renunciation. So sense gratification is very, actually, it's it comes your way naturally, but one has to work hard to get away from it. So everything that is put into service of Krishna becomes actually above sense gratification. Krishna is called Rishikesh. He is the actually the controller, the owner of his own senses and our senses. So it is bound that we should serve Krishna. Our senses should serve Krishna, not ourselves. They are meant because we are part and parcel of Krishna. He tells, that's why I said Bhagavad Gita is the foundation. Krishna says there, Mame Mancha Jivaloka Jivabuddha Sanatana. You all are my part and parcel. So, being his part and parcel, our only goal is to serve our whole. So, our hands, our legs are our part and parcel, but they serve us as a body, as the whole. They serve our body. Likewise, we are Krishna's part and parcel, and we have to serve the Supreme Lord. And we forget and we start serving ourselves. That is sense gratification. Actually, that is sense gratification. I hope that's clear. Mhm.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? And raise your hand and ask Mataji directly or send a message in the chat. Meanwhile, I have one more in the chat here.
Yes.
How can we apply the instructions of Rishabdev in our daily spiritual life? Can you give some practical examples?
Yeah, that's very simple. You see, if you have faith, we are in the association of devotees by even the virtual. This is virtual online class going on. This is actually the association of devotees. Or you're physically, you can go to the temple and take the opportunity of being physically in the association of devotees. Chanting the holy name, that is required. That's very much again a part and parcel of the teachings of Lord Rishabdev. He's telling his children that you have to perform your duties and don't imitate the materialist. So don't imitate the people, those who are in actually in sense gratification. So we can do this very simply, going with in the association of devotees, chanting with them, listening to the glories of the Supreme Lord, taking the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada instructions are there in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavatam. And when we follow them, we are taking him as a Shiksha Guru if we are not initiated as yet. So taking his instructions actually will bring in your life the changes that you cannot imagine even. Those changes, they come on their own. Bhagavad Gita is theistic science. It is a practical application. So when we apply what is being said here, what you're listening, if you apply it in your life, you will experience everything, because Bhagavad Gita is experiential knowledge. Everybody experiences this. So you see, when you are actually taking these instructions, associating with the saintly people, your life will change. You will actually experience that drop of nectar. When you're in the association of pure devotees, you actually feel that drop of nectar. Like we were in the Sadhu Sangha recently in Florida. So there, what happened? You could feel that nectar flowing to you. They were not bothered what's going around in Florida outside. Nobody wanted even to go and see the downtown, or they wanted to go outside and see what's happening there. Maybe it was their, mine was also the first time in Florida, but I was least interested to go out. And others also I could see, nobody was ready. They didn't want to go out. They wanted to be there singing and dancing. They were actually getting that nectar, the drop of nectar. So that happens in the association of devotees. That nectar, that amrit, you get it. And this is this, you can take that association, and you can take that association in Sunday feast lectures you have in your centers or in the temples. You can of course go there and enjoy the same nectar flowing to you. And then one should not imitate the materialistic people at all. That's what the Rishab Dev tells, that you will be falling in birth and death again and again. If we say, oh, I don't believe in that, then you should go and read the other scriptures, Vedic scriptures, and then you will believe it. Yes, because you have to believe this. It does happen. We have the stories from the Bhagavatam. Likewise, here, Bharat Maharaj story is going to happen here. He's Rishabdev's first son. That's going to happen here. So you will see his 3 lifetimes. So perform their duties according to your ashram. And whichever ashram we are, we should follow the rules and regulations of that ashram and follow that. That's Devi Varnashram. Then we should understand that the soul is distinct from body. That's what Rishabdev tells. Take your body as a vehicle, and your soul has to use this vehicle to go back to Godhead. And then mind. He talks about mind. So that's very practical for us. First, we accept, yes, I'm a soul, I'm not the body. And then mind. Mind plays the games. Other day, I gave a lecture, and I was speaking with a New Jersey group, and I told them there was a class on mind we had. Chanting. Actually, the class was on chanting. So the chanting, actually, the mind is main concern with the chanting is. Mind is related to chanting. The more you chant nicely, the more the mind comes under your control. So mind, these days there are so many mental problems coming up. So why there are these mental problems coming up? Because people are not into the habit of controlling the mind. They let the mind loose. So here Rishabh Devji is telling, mind is the root cause of bondage and liberation. In Bhagavad Gita, he tells the same. Make your mind can be your friend and enemy. So befriend your mind. Don't make it your enemy. Befriend it. So when the mind is absorbed in actually senses, it brings bondage. And when this mind is absorbed in Krishna, it brings liberation. So this is how it is, that how you can actually absorb in Krishna's talking and you get a liberation. Actually, you get absorbed in Krishna when you get into the association of devotees. When you go to the association of devotees, you will hear only Krishna, only the talks about Krishna, only his pastimes, his life. There is Nam, Roop, Gun, Leela. So Nam, his name, his Roop, his appearance, and then what he does when he comes. And then his appearance is not material. He's there in his loka as well. He's here, he's everywhere as well. So he talks about this. And then this is very much practically you can experience this. All these, what I'm saying, when you're in the association of devotees, this will happen. Your mind gets absorbed in Krishna. And then the liberation is actually going to happen. Then the ultimate, he says, surrender. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says again. Sarvadharma parityaja mamekam shanam braje. Surrender. Krishna is demanding surrender. He demands surrender. Here Rishabdev says, yes, one has to surrender. One has to surrender to Lord Vasudeva if one really wants to go back. So how do we actually surrender? So the surrender comes when we are actually in the association of devotees and taking the instructions of the spiritual master. Surrender is voluntarily coming. We may not know it even, but we are surrendering. Just follow the instructions. Just do them simply, sincerely follow. Simply, sincerely serve. Triple S. So just be simple and sincere in serving the spiritual master. This is all S, 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 S. So when you just follow this, then the surrender is another S will come in your life. It will happen naturally. It's very natural process. You don't have to actually force it on you. I'm just telling you, it's from my own experience. You never know it even and you are surrendering. You will never know it that you've already done it. Such a nice thing it is. Because Krishna is demanding it. It has to be very voluntarily. Very good. I can speak hours and hours, but I don't know. We have a lot of time constraint is there. Yes. Very well.
A few more minutes. Are there any other questions?
Mhm.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Vijay Dhanapram.
Who taught as always, and very practical, very much with conviction. You spoke as always. I also wanted to just no question, but I just also wanted to highlight because many times people don't know that is Rishab Dev. From him is that the Jainism came through Rishab Dev and Srimad Bhagavatam. There is a verse which I'm going to post here from chapter 6, canto 5, where it clearly states how the Jain Dharma came into being. Earlier, it was called Arhat, from a king by the name Arhat who followed Rishabh Dev's teachings or tried to imitate him. And then that's how Jainism came into being. So all the different paths are eventually connected to the Vedic culture.
Everything, yeah. He's the first, the Jains take him as the first Tiranthakar, they call him. He's their Tiranthakar. Tirthanakar. Yeah. Tirthankar. Yeah. So he established the Dharma. Yeah. What did she say? Is there any question?
I think just unmuted by mistake.
Okay. So we end the session or that's it?
I think, Anagamoin, is there any other question?
I don't think so, but this is last call if anyone has any other questions.
Everybody's satisfied now. They will just practice these 7-8 tips, the teachings of Rishab Devji in the 7 points I gave. Very good.
I think that's all, Mataji. Thank you again so much for your class. It was very practical and applicable.
Thank you.